Oh.
I've changed it.
Thank you.
No problem. Pleasure as always.
I can hear you, but I can't see you. Stand up. We are stand up.
I am stood up. I'm here all day. I'm fun.
Right, okie doke. Everybody ready? 90 minutes, play.
It Causier 5. Two. Five. Eight. Roll call 8. Two. Five.
7, 9. Did Causier 9. Three. Six. Nine. Twelve. Fifteen. Seventeen. Nineteen. Ball 19. Three. Five. Seven. Ten. Thirteen. Fifteen. Seventeen. Twenty. 22. 47. 30. 32. 35. 37. 39. 42. 45. 47. 50. 52. 52. 2. 5. 5. 3. 5. 1.5. Comes down. Thanks. 2. 4. 6. 9. 10. 12. 14. 17. 19. 21. 23. 25. 27. 30. 32. 35. 37. 39. 41. 43. 45. 47. 49. 51. 53. 56. 58. 60. 63. 66. 69. 71. 73. 75. 77. 80. 82. 84. 86. 89. 91. 94. 96. 99. 101. 103. 106. 108. 111. 113. 116. 118. 121. 121. 121. 3. 5. 8. 11. 13. 14. 23. Draw ball 23. Two. Five. Seven. Ten. Okay, Causier 10. Two. Four. Seven. Ten. Twelve. 15. Seventeen. Nineteen. 21. 23. 25. 25. Two. 12 all, 2.
Sure.
2. Dear Causier, 2. Three.
Sure.
5. Seven. Nine. Twelve. 14. 16. 19. 21. 23. 26. 28. 31. 33. 35. 38. 40. 41. 43. 45. 48. 50. 52. 55. 57. 59. 61. 64. 67. 69. 71. 73. 75. 77. 80. 82. 84. 87. 90. 92. 94. 97. 98.
Hard luck.
Club hole 99. Two. Five. Seven. Here's Causier at 7.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the live stream coverage from Sticks in Kirkcaldy. This is the Scottish Open semi-final stage. David Causier, world number 2, up against Rob Hall, world number 3. As you can see, we are about halfway through this match, and we're now starting the commentary, so we'll hopefully guide you through the remainder of this tournament. Obviously, the final will take place shortly after this match. And with me starting off the commentary is Darren Clark, one of the other board members of World Billiards, alongside myself, Chris Coombe. How you doing, Darren? And what's your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, how are you doing, Chris? Good to be here, and yeah, quite close, I guess, at the moment. This semi-final. In the other semi-final, we've got Peter Gilchrist versus Peter Sheen. So I guess you'd say the top 4 in the world currently playing in the semi-finals. And Peter Sheen, I think was it Peter or Rob? Oh, sorry, Rob just had, was it 99? But yeah, the top players have been going well. Dave, maybe in this event, started a little bit slowly, but he started to reel off the breaks. I think his highest was 4.52 so far. He's also had 2.99, 2.43, and a few other 200 breaks. Rob's highest break so far, 2.23, Gilchrist 2.28, and Sheehan 2.63. Got a good chance here for Rob. Dave, obviously, as we know, likes to get off to a flying start. But it doesn't seem like he's got too far off into the distance. Both players stood him with a shout.
Yeah, very much so. 50 points is not much at all in this match between players of this caliber. Rob at the table, as you can see, a bit of an awkward cannon being attempted here. Never easy, though, is to negotiate how the cushions are going to react, even for the very best players. But you'll probably be disappointed not to have made a few more there, that opportunity.
It's quite a tough table, this one. I played on the live stream table in the group stages, and the 2 top pockets are quite tricky. If the ball slightly catches the jaw, generally speaking, it kind of spits it out. As Dave smashes one in, obviously.
Such a good potter. And but yeah, you're right. Even for these sort of players, they've got to take every care on pots. As Dave plays that safety there, just to get the red into bulk. trying to get the yellow near the side cushion. Rob will just be having a look to see if he can play this cannon or he might be playing safe. Obviously felt that the cannon was a bit risky, perhaps a risk of a double kiss, so electing to play safe. And Dave attempting the cannon there. I guess there's a bit of an element of safety in that as well, but possible cannon left for Rob. Again, not straightforward, especially queuing off the cushion like that.
Yeah, he elected to play that off the cushion there rather than direct, maybe trying to get a bit more control over what he was doing. Unfortunately, his cue ball landed quite close to that cushion there, makes it a bit tricky. So big pot coming up, but if it goes in, potential of a drop cannon and a good chance really. So he's cued that well. I'm not sure what the angle's like, but it looks quite good from here. As we see the overhead camera that we've been trialing here at Sticks for the first time. Sam Jones, TYP Live, doing a great job as always for us.
Absolutely. And a couple of cannons here from Rob. It's interesting to see how he goes about this, because when the balls are obviously so close together as they are, it's so easy to actually lose position. But as you can see, he played a couple of controlled cannons there to leave this in off yellow, and that will set up a drop cannon. So those are the sort of positions that can so easily go wrong. You just spread the balls, perhaps put a bit too much pace into the cannon or get a cover or something like that. But this drop cannon should hopefully, in Rob's point of view, hopefully he'll be trying to get the balls back to prime position. But there's a cover.
Ball 15.
So a few chances from both players really in this part of the match. Both will be very much aware that if they can get in prime position and make a sizable break, then they can really get hold of the match. But the last few minutes, it's just been a case of trying to get hold of the balls and get into a prime position, which have not quite done so at the moment in the last few moments. Again, this is not exactly ideal. So much so we had to pot the white, and shortly we'll be seeing a double bulk, I would have thought, or a single bulk. Just as effective, really. Not much for Rob to go at all.
Yeah, so it's very tense, this semi-final at the moment. Dave, as we know, is a very good front runner. So maybe Rob's tactic has been to stick and hope a good chance comes along and make the most of it. So after this event, Chris, we moved to Austria in Vienna, for the Austrian Open. That's in the beginning of March. And then after that, we've got a new event on the calendar in Australia at Mounties Club, New South Wales, and that's the Walter Lindrum Open. Some billiards fans might recognise that name.
14.
Yeah, amazing. Just, I'm sure in the vast majority of people would just say without hesitation, Walter Lindrum, best human of all time. In fact, I was reading his biography not so long ago, and just reminds you just how incredible he was as a player, as a person, just beyond belief, really. What the records he had and breaks, achievements, and so yeah, that's a fantastic event. We're really pleased to have that on the calendar, and all the support from the Australian Billiards and Snooker Council was a factor in getting that event up and running. And like you say, the Austrian Open, Darren, that promises to be a good event. We were last there in 2019. It's a great venue, that 8 tables, the National Academy, and I know they've spent a fair bit of money in improving their tables recently as well, and making sure the conditions are as good as possible. So we look forward to that, 1st to the 3rd of March. And entries are open on the World Billiards website, open to all. So
29.
if you're interested, take a look. It'd be great to see you there. But as we say, that Causier is getting the balls back to the top. Not quite prime position for him yet, but as he reaches over to play this cannon, the opponent's cue ball is just away from the ideal area that he wants it to be in to make a big break. But we know how well Dave can control the balls and rack up huge scores.
37.
I actually played him in the previous round, and he was just phenomenal, and I'm sure he'll only get stronger as this event goes on. Like Darren said earlier, he perhaps started a little slowly by his standards yesterday, although he got through the group obviously without any issues. I'm sure he'll be saving his best form for the business end of this event.
Yeah, and since we've came into the commentary box, this is arguably the best chance that we've seen Dave have so far.
49.
Kind of tiny bit awkward there. Can he score off this red? Wow. Great shot there. Lots of
52.
screw on his cue ball.
Look at how the Reds come right round the table, off about 3 cushions into excellent drop cannon position. That was not by chance at all. That was such a well-controlled shot, and this is how the likes of Causier and the other great players can just turn a position around from an awkward position into great position. But he's certainly working hard for these points, Darren, isn't he? But from his perspective, his score is just ticking along, increasing his lead.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, Dave's game potentially a bit more unorthodox compared to some of the other greats of the game. But one of his great assets is obviously speed in scoring, but his ability to create shots from nowhere, shots where others might potentially break down. Dave just seems to pull something out of the hat, I guess. Again, a bit awkward. Looks like a safety shot.
Causier 62.
Yep, Causier knowing full well that Rob Hall is equally as capable of getting the balls under his command and making a big break. So no attempt at a low percentage cannon. Perhaps just felt that it was much better to play safe, leave an awkward position for Rob Hall.
Yeah, so if we just go back to the calendar, Chris, after we head over the pond, as it were, to Australia, after that, we move to Ireland for the Irish Open and the World Match Play at the SBI Academy in Ireland. Carlo, fantastic venue. Really looking forward to that one.
Yes, the World Match Play 100 up formats. For those that are not fully familiar with the different formats, the timed format is the one that's played in most of the events, but we do have the 100 up, so that's begins with games where you play all 5 games of 100 up, and then as the tournament progresses, the match length increases, and it's an interesting format. It can potentially throw up some interesting results.
Yeah, Causier 5.
Obviously, even if you're 3-0 down in a best of 7 or best of 9, for example, every game is starts fresh, so there's always chances for a comeback. And the other interesting factor is that the rules are slightly amended in terms of playing from in hand after your opponent pots your ball. And we won't go into all the ins and outs now, but there's some information on the World Billiards website about those rules, and it's a good format and well popular event, so we'll be looking forward to that one as well. Obviously, Dave Causier is actually the current World Match Play champion, so he'll be there looking to defend that title.
So a good chance now, Chris. Although he's pushed that white into a slightly awkward position. I think he was, from our camera angle there, it looked a bit awkward, but maybe not so. Just trying to develop this white. You might see him now bring it round off 2 cushions to try and leave the drop cannon.
Yeah, that last enough looked like he was playing out of check side and drag. And if the angle is slightly narrower than that natural half ball angle, the check side can narrow that angle even further and help you get the in off, and the drag just keeps that side on the ball
12.
so that you get the in off. And that was a good pot. Got the cannon as well, but again, this is not easy to control from here. Just making sure he left himself on the red. I think he knew that the white was probably going to go into a slightly awkward position, but you can get in off that. Obviously, it's in bulk, so a bit of work needed to develop this position.
20.
But if he can get in off this, that's pretty well controlled to land in the right spot.
22.
Yeah, it just seems a bit scrappy at the moment, Chris. Dave's got a 140-point lead. That's a nice shot that he's played. Not easy on this table. Brings the balls back together. I think he was hoping to maybe leave the in off white there. Doesn't look like it's on. But if he pots this red, he might be able to get under the white and stop it from going into the pocket.
29.
Yeah, for those that are not familiar with the exact rules, obviously there are various ways of scoring, and there's actually a video on our World Billiards website on the homepage of our YouTube channel, which has got a rundown of the rules. But potting your opponent's ball is not something that you really want to do because it stays in the pocket until your opponent comes to the table. So you're limited with your options. And the double bulk is what... Nearly made a foul there. The double bulk is when you're in hand and there's no balls out of bulk, so you have to play out of bulk up the table normally before you hit any of the object balls. Just try to disturb the balls there. He knew that Causier would have had an easy shot off the red, so it was a bit of a hit and hope from Rob. Not much more he could have done. And obviously with the red being in bulk like that, Causier can't play directly from in hand, so having to play a cannon off the white. Fairly big target with the red, although it is quite deep in the jaws.
6.
Just checking to see if the red will spot. So the spot is covered, the billiard spot, which is the black spot in snooker. So it's the pink spot in snooker.
Dave Causier.
Again, like you say, Darren, it's just a bit scrappy, really. Neither player can really, although Dave has got a handy lead, it can easily be turned around if Rob gets a chance.
Yeah, 150 or so points, the difference. Which is still plenty of time left, 29 minutes as we look on the timer. I think Rob will be disappointed with that, really. Don't know if he's distracted by something there. He's just gesturing to somebody in the crowd. If you are watching on YouTube, let us know where you're from. Hope you're enjoying the coverage this weekend. We'd like to thank Sticks here in Kirkcaldy for hosting the event. It's always a very well turned out event and very enjoyable.
59 players started out yesterday.
10.
And this venue has hosted the Scottish Open for a few years now. It's an event that's been going for quite a while, really, and it's been held in different venues. It's being played in memory of Hugh Eldon, which is a player who sadly passed away a few years ago, and a very good player and champion from Scotland who was very well respected, very popular. And this tournament and trophy is being played in his memory.
17.
And it's also good to see the Scottish players supporting the event. There's a good group of players that support, well, a lot of the tournaments. They don't just play in the Scottish tournaments, they travel as well. So,
22.
yeah, it's great to have them on board and good to see the game being played in Scotland and hopefully growing.
24.
We've got a Mr. Patel on YouTube saying hi from Mumbai, Bombay, midnight over there. Hope you're enjoying the coverage. It's a famous
29.
Patel, Narlin Patel. I'm not sure if you're related. Great guy is Narlin. A great player as well. It'd be great to see some of the Indian players playing in our events. Hopefully we'll see them soon. But for the moment, Dave starting to creep away a little bit in this semi-final.
37.
We'll try and get the scores, if we can, from the other semi-final between Pete Gilchrist and Peter Sheehan.
40. 42.
Stephen Harrison taking charge of this semi-final here on table 1.
44.
Stephen's a referee, Chris, that only joined us, I guess, within the last year or so, but he's proven to be a fantastic referee, and we're really pleased to have him as part of our officiating team.
Yeah, absolutely, Darren. Top class referee.
49.
Always gets in the right position. and when he's refereeing and you're playing, you never really notice who's there. Just very rarely makes a mistake. Yeah, top class referee. We've also had Kevin Christie and Martin O'Reilly with us this weekend. Again, both great referees. A lot of time and effort is put in by the referees, not just being here at the tournament and the amount of matches, but the travelling involved, supporting all the events. So yeah, we're very thankful for all their help. And of course, Frank Bradley, our tournament controller, who's doing a great job keeping everything on track. Make sure all the matches start on time, all the sessions. So there's a lot involved in that. So big thanks to all the officials.
So it's starting to look a little bit ominous now for Rob. Dave on a break of 73 and a lead of, 230 or so points?
Yeah, and in case you're wondering, when the players are in prime position at the top end of the table with the red, well, on the spot, and the opponent's ball right behind it, really, then the players playing floating white or posters knock, the main forms the top of the table, then they can score 100 break in about 5 or 6 minutes if they're in good position, not having to go away to open play. So still time for Rob, but he's just got to rely on Dave letting him in, really, and then when Rob does come back to the table, whether he has an opening really to get the balls in prime position. So Dave Causier is certainly in a good position now. He'll just be looking to obviously stay at the table and make sure he keeps, doesn't make any unforced errors. There's a lot of concentration involved because both players have played a last 32 or last 16 in the quarterfinal match. And obviously when they get to the business end of the tournament, like we said earlier, they can often click into another gear, but it still requires a lot of concentration.
91.
It can also get quite warm as well when you're in full flow in a break. So that's physically it can be quite demanding as well, really, even though billiards is not a physical sport as such. It's definitely a factor in long events. Would you agree, Darren?
I think so. I think also, obviously, it's mentally draining. I mean, if you're always in position and everything's easy and making breaks and matches are over and it's not tight and, the strains and strenuous side of that side of it. But if you get close matches, tension and it definitely does take it out of you 100%. Dave in the past has shown it, in that regard, he's a bit of a machine, really. He's just relentless with his scoring, and he doesn't ever seem to let off. Chris Tube is saying great commentary as always. We're just trying to get the score from the other semi-final.
And I can bring that to you now. So we've got Peter Gilchrist, the current world champion. He won that event in Landywood Snooker Club a few months ago, up against Peter Sheehan. And the current score, Peter Gilchrist is in the lead by 4-6-2 to 2-1-4. Peter Sheehan is another of our very finest players. He was, as most people will probably be aware, he was away from the game for quite some time, concentrating on work and family. But in the last 2 or 3 years, has been back on the circuit again,
120.
and he won his first ranking event since his comeback at the start of this season in Leeds, the Jim Williamson Open.
Yeah, so it sounds like that score as well is quite similar to this then, Chris, really.
125.
But this definitely is
127.
looking like it could be the final blow, I think.
Yeah, Dave Causier now in prime floating white position, so that's when the opponent's ball, is right up near the spot, usually slightly to one side, and these players can keep the balls there for long periods, playing pots, cannons. Great control needed. It looks so easy, but as I'm sure most people are aware, it's certainly not as easy as it looks. It does take a lot of practice, but that's the way really to make the big breaks in billiards.
135.
Yeah, especially when you factor in things like the slip of the cloth, the slide, how the top cushion reacts. So does it go on and off the cushion as fast, equally, or is it coming off faster than it goes on? Is it steel cushions, steel back cushions? There's lots of factors and lots of sort of adapting, I guess, as you know, Chris. But without doubt, Dave is probably the best in terms of adapting to different tables. He seems to work it out very quickly, as do many of the top players, but I think Dave just slightly has the edge on that side of things.
Yeah, the white's just gone away slightly now. The players often, when you're learning this type of game, it's good to try and imagine like a box that's maybe 4 or 5 inches, 6 inches wide, I suppose, each side of the spot, and they try and keep the opponent's ball in that area, floating it around, really, as the name suggests. But when the white just goes to the side like this, normally you have to either revert to open play completely or play a drop cannon. I think we'll be seeing that here. Drop cannons can vary so much depending on the exact position, and they're never certain either, even for the very best players. And as you can see there, just getting a cover, all balls lined up.
162.
He's played that well. Red's gone a bit awkward there, but he should be able to play the screwing off down the cushion. So we see the side that's being applied there, bringing the cue ball into the pocket, and he's controlled it well, keeping the ball in the middle of the table. I think it would have been quite easy for some players to think, they put a bit of power into that one and send to make sure they get the shot, and the red could go off on a journey around the table, but Dave controlled it well.
It's a good shot to practice, actually, those little screwing offs just along the cushion from different cue ball positions. It's a good shot to practice your touch, because like you say, you certainly don't need to hit it too hard. You can get the action on the ball by striking the cue ball correctly, good timing, and ideally controlling the object ball as well.
Yeah, and this is a new cloth, Hainsworth match cloth.
174.
So it's got a bit of zip on the cloth, and makes that shot maybe a tiny bit easier to play. Obviously on a club table, where maybe potentially a bit more worn. Put a bit more into it, bit more of a shoulder action, Chris. But yeah. So the lead, 335 or so points, 334. The break is at 176. Stephen Harrison just gets out the long rest for Dave.
Yeah, you mentioned down the cloth Hainsworth match, and we'll also mention 2 other sponsors of Royal Billiards, Aramith, who supply us with the Pro Cut balls. As you can see, the spotted cue balls, which similar to what's used in other cue sports, such as carom and pool, etc. Great to play with. Great for spectators to see close up what side is being applied. And also, we're using Pro Score, the electronic scoring that you see on the screen. and obviously it's visible in the arena as well. Great scoring system, as Angus McAnally makes a note of that break. Great guy, one of the directors of World Billiards, puts a huge amount of time and effort into the sport alongside all his other pursuits. Very famous in Ireland, of course, as a television and radio presenter, magician, actor, commentator, MC.
That's a nice shot.
Good recovery from Rob, like you say. But I'm sure he'll be disappointed. I mean, it does look like this is out of his reach now. But of course, the great champion that he is will be given his all. He won't be throwing the towel in at all.
Yeah, it'd be really nice if Rob could make an unfinished break here.
Rob is an active coach. Does a lot of work coaching players of all standards. Billiards primarily, but I believe he also coaches snooker. And I know he travels a lot to do that as well. So he's certainly got a huge amount of knowledge for the game that he can pass on to others. And he's got a YouTube channel as well that has quite a few instructional videos, shots to practice, routines, etc. So take a look at that. There's some great stuff there to work at if you're interested in learning more about the game. And there's so much to learn there, isn't it? I mean, you know, I'm sure you're the same. We always come to these events, and it's probably the same for a lot of players. There's always things that you can take away and try and take back to the practice table, and it's never ending, is it? Really?
Yeah, I think you're always learning, really. Oh, you should be. I think you're always picking things up, and especially in practice. I wonder if I do this, what would happen, or especially around top of the table as well. Like, realistically, that's almost a game inside of a game, and that takes a long, long time to be any good at that. To control the balls and keep him in that virtual box, like you were saying, Chris. This looks like an interesting shot.
Yeah, I was always told when I started playing the game that it can take 10 years to learn the game properly, and that's probably true, really. But that shouldn't, as we see this attempted PK.
With great effort.
But as I was saying, that shouldn't put people off, because it's a very rewarding journey if if you start improving at the game, new shots, new patterns of play open up, bigger breaks, performances, start getting good wins under your belt, for example, and you keep wanting to come back for more.
Yeah, I think it's just about setting targets for yourself, realistic targets, and trying to aim for those goals and get over those hurdles, and then set the next one and see where you can get to, really. I mean, if anybody's watching that is maybe a little bit nervous about entering one of these events, a lover of billiards, but potentially questioning, am I good enough, or am I allowed to enter? Very much so. Our events are open to all, and it's a great group of people, very welcoming, and if anything, the billiard crowd, they will help you out. They'll spend time after your game talking about maybe what you did do right, what you potentially did wrong in some senses. And you don't get very many sports where you can do that. You can speak to, the current world champion, or, the top players in the world, and they'll give you advice. It's not like we can go down the local tennis club and speak to Roger Federer, Chris, and ask him for a few tips, but that's one of the things we can do with billiards, and it's a great game. Come along, get involved.
Very much so. Yeah, I fully agree. And as we mentioned earlier, all the details of our upcoming events are on the World Billiards website. And perhaps if you've just found this coverage or you're new to it, then there's lots of coverage on our YouTube channel, especially from the last 2 or 3 years. Almost every event has had live streaming on the TV table, as we call it, from start to finish. That's brought to you by TYP Live. Excellent live streaming from Sam Jones. And hopefully you're all enjoying the various camera angles. That's the new camera angle, as you may have heard us mention earlier, the overhead camera. Great for seeing the top of the table play and the control that these top players have. So, about 9 minutes to go then. In billiards, you always carry on and play the full match, even if it's out of your reach. But as we mentioned earlier, there obviously comes a time when a player realises if they're behind that it's not physically possible to win, really, for the amount of time that's left. But as we see Rob, he's had I'm sure he'll be disappointed, but I'm sure he'll be again taking away things from this event, but top class player, and I know he'll be involved in the Lindrum Open, the Walter Lindrum Open in Sydney, coming up soon. So we'll be seeing a lot more of him, I'm sure. And again, obviously the World Match Play Championship that's in April in Ireland, I'm sure we'll be seeing Rob in the business end of that, no doubt.
Yeah, if there's any snooker players out there that are watching that are thinking, they'd like to give this game a go, if you become a member on the World Billiards website, there's a publication there which is a free PDF download, which Martin Goodwill, I guess, donated to us at World Billiards, and you can, if you become a member, you can check that out, and it'll give you some tips for getting into the game. Obviously, Martin's a great billiards author. I think Martin's resting up at the moment with a bit of an injury, but we'll look forward to seeing Martin back again soon. But yeah, check that one out.
So it'd be nice to see Rob remain at the table with an unfinished break. Looks like he's in pretty good position here. Very much a floating white player, as most of the top players are, really. Can score very heavily in this form of the game. Rob's highest break in a World Billiards event is 500 exactly. Just caught the cannon there, so on he goes. Yeah, the 500 break that I mentioned was actually in the event in Belgium last year. And he made that in the final of the event against Peter Gilchrist in the very first visit to the table. So you can't get much better than that, really, making a 500 break, first poke, as we say. But Rob's made a number of 400 pluses breaks as well, not just in World Billiards events, but in other tournaments. He's won numerous English amateur titles and events on the English circuit. Travels to virtually every tournament, and has also been runner-up in the World Championship, I believe, on 3 occasions. Just such a delicate cannon there, hardly moving the opponent's ball. And the key shot down really is the recovery cannon, isn't it? From red off the top cushion onto the opponent's ball. You might not have the exact angle for that now, but I think it's probably fair to say if you're trying to learn the top of the table and make bigger breaks, that's really the shot to practice to get that confidence in playing that recovery cannon, controlling the red, controlling the opponent's ball, and not being afraid of it. You know, you can leave yourself that shot in a match rather than trying to score continuous, cannon spots directly. You can recover the white and keep it under control.
Yeah, I think in some senses that if you see a player that's maybe leaving that shot because the opponent's cue ball has ventured a little bit too close towards this top cushion as we look, that's a sign to me that they're actually confident and they're playing well, because they're deliberately leaving that because they're not happy. Obviously, they're still in position where say in this scenario here, he's still in position, he can keep scoring, but if they're looking to bring that cue ball back closer towards the billiard spot, like you said, it is a sign that they're playing well and they're cueing well, especially if they're doing it over and over again. The likes of Mike Russell, fantastic top of the table player, and you would see Mike doing that, really quite frequently.
I mean, you can write a book on top of the table. And, well, Martin Goodwill literally has written a book on top of the table, but there's so many recovery shots as well. When the opponent's ball is more central, right behind the red, as opposed to slightly to one side, you can't always get underneath it, but there's ways of recovering it by playing a cannon on top of the opponent's ball, knocking it off the cushion that way rather than actually getting your ball underneath the opponent's ball and playing it from underneath, as it were. But so much to learn, but Rob unfortunately broke down there, but like we say, just a few minutes to go. Obviously, Dave's attention will be turning to the final, which I believe will be against Peter Gilchrist, who was playing in the other semi-final against Peter Sheehan. He had a handy lead earlier on by a couple hundred points. And the final as well is over 90 minutes duration.
12.
Yeah, we're expecting that match to start at 7 o'clock here in Scotland.
17. 19. 21.
It wasn't far off a 10 shot there, Chris.
I was just thinking the same there. The most you could score in one shot is 10 points. Normally it's a fluke and not something that a player would obviously play for, but yeah, sometimes you do see it happen.
Is Rob going to play the exhibition shot and try and play a run-through cannon, run-through and off down the cushion? No, he's not. Yeah, there's a healthy crowd in. Sure, all, like you said, turning their attention towards the final now.
And this match is being played in one of the matchroom suites in this venue. There's 3 rooms similar to this with one table in each and some seating. And outside of this room, there's another 10 tables, well, 13 tables overall, 10 outside and in the 3 suites. And I believe this club has been going for quite some years, and on the walls there's some memorabilia of all the players that have played here in snooker events over the years, and billiards events. So last few seconds now, I'm sure the bell will be going very shortly. And Causier will be looking to get his first trophy under his belt for the new year.
16. 19.
Yeah, well done to Dave. Had a look, and we'll see you all shortly.
18.
Yep, there we are. David Causier beats Rob Hall 6-1-3 to 2-9-2. As they players shake hands, the referee Stephen Harrison. And as we said earlier, the final starts at 7 p.m. local time, about 25 minutes from now on YouTube and Facebook. Stay tuned. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully, you'll see us again soon. Bye for now.